Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. Today we're out here at the water again, and it got extremely cold and we had to redo our water tank. We had a siphon coming out of the top of this, and the hose was 5/8. It just was too small a diameter to move the water out of that tank without it freezing. And it got, -8 next week. This morning it was -5, and it's just, it's February in Missouri. It's going to get cold. These are the floats. I got a new valve. This is one that I got from Trenton Hardware Store, Trenton, Missouri. And you can see I've got a little engineering going on there. When that thing kicks on, it blasts water right up toward me, so I tied a rag on it to keep the water from coming up toward me here. I'm going to make a little hoodie out of high density polyethylene and put it in there, but right now it's working great. The petcock, I stick my finger in the water, is that little brass piece right there on the side. You can see it. I've got it about a quarter of the way open now. The switch there is on the bottom. There's water coming out of those threads right there. Okay, the valve is in here. It's got a big old arm on it. And the arm was so heavy that when I put a Job Megaflow float on it, it wouldn't shut it off. And so I went and got a Clorox and a Prestone, made sure I washed them out good. And I've got all kinds of float, you might say float power now, keeping that thing shut off. And then this is all the sleeping bags around the hydrant. The overflow, we went with a bigger pipe. I've got a 3/4 on there instead of a 1-inch. And I think I'm gonna go with a fire hose, those collapsible fire hoses. I don't have one yet, but that's my plan. I'm gonna cut this hole right here a lot bigger, where I can just put a C-clamp on the back and put like an 1.5 inch fire hose on here. One of those collapsible fire hoses. I'll show you what that's run into. So that pipe there, the overflow pipe's only 5 feet long, 6 feet. It's 6 feet long. Like, well, where's all your water at? Isn't it got a mess here? Nope. We dumped it in. We had a piece of 20-foot, 3-inch PVC. And so it's got an angle to it. It's going out that way. So the water is actually going down in those woods over there, away from the tank. And you can see we don't have any muck. Of course, you wouldn't have any muck this morning. It'd be solid froze ice. But, animals, you don't want them standing on ice, an ice floe, trying to get them a drink of water. You're just asking for trouble because they got cloven hooves. They don't have tire chains on their feet. And, you get a cow that actually splits wide open, just like it, you've seen those cheerleaders do their cheering and they do the splits. I'm like, oh my gosh, it just hurts me to watch it. But if a cow does a split, or a bull or whatever, there's a really good chance they can actually split their pelvic. And once they do that, they're ruined. You just gotta process them, for your freezer, because it's just a terrible, terrible injury, and that's because you were making them stand on ice out there to try and drink. So put yourself in their shoes. It's pretty easy to do. Just would a cow get along doing that? Probably not. But yeah, this Trenton Hardware, I got 2 of these. They're I love that valve. It's a non-fail. The one we had last year looked like a valve on like a carburetor. It had a little needle valve on it. It just didn't last. It stripped out. The threads did. This one is not going to strip out. I just got to get me a hoodie made for that. And it's going to go around the top of it, and I'll loop a wire on it just to keep it on there for a hood. Because, folks, right there on top is where the valve's at, and that thing will spray water up through here, and it looks like you got a water fountain here. It's just the way it is. The other thing we did is I put, I'll pull this back and show you if I don't get shocked. I'm not gonna pull that. I just took pipe insulation and covered that 5-footer, the 6-foot hose, until it gets into that white pipe. And it's gonna test it out next week. They're saying -8 is the real chill, wind chill. If there's any wind at all, we're probably looking at -20s. So next week is gonna be the coldest we've had all winter here in mid-Missouri. Pretty dang cold out here right now, but I put up these boards to block that north wind. And then behind me here, I've got some more. This is the west. You notice I didn't put anything on the east or the south. We don't get a real cold wind out of the east, hardly ever. If it's coming out of the south, it's not cold. It's usually more, summer, summer temps. But I'm really pleased with this valve. You can get them at Trenton, Missouri. Look it up. Trenton, Missouri hardware store. And if you're in Missouri, you ever go in that store, you're just gonna act like you're gonna feel like you walked into a store in the 1930s and 40s. Folks, it's an amazing store. I could have walked around that store for hours just looking. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The merchandise and the selection they got there, it's just unbelievable. I haven't seen a store like that in, I don't know, 50 years. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. We got a really nice hardware store here in Sturgeon. The closest town to us is called Ritchie and Sons, and Ritchie and Sons is great. It's a nice hardware store. But this other one in Trenton is where these valves are carried. They've got all sizes of valves. They've got every single brass fitting you can ever imagine. They've got, I just couldn't believe it. Oh, and when you walk in, they got a popcorn machine. So you can get you a bag of popcorn as you walk around the store. And the popcorn, of course, is free. As you walk around looking at stuff, you can have you some fresh popped popcorn. It's one of them machines like you see at the movies. And anyway, it's just a really neat store. Check it out. I'm sure they have a website where you can order through the store if you're not in Missouri. But if you're around Trenton, which is up north, it's actually north of Chillicothe. I think it's around 16 to 18 miles north. It's a wonderful place. I tell you what, Trenton's a beautiful town. They have really done a good job with that downtown, revitalizing it. You see a lot of little towns around that just look like they're almost ready to blow away. Chillicothe and Trenton both. They do not look like that. All the buildings, they've painted these beautiful murals on the side of these old brick buildings. They've pointed them. The main streets are nice and clean. There's businesses in the stores of all things. And I don't know how they're doing it, because I know Chillicothe has a Walmart, and somehow that downtown is still cranking. And Trenton, same deal to me. Like, I mean, there's some really nice old stores, and there was people and businesses, and still open. I think Sam Walton would roll over in his grave if he knew what his stores did to rural America. They emptied them out. They emptied out all the towns, because they always came in and built the Walmart on the edge of the town, and all the businesses on the main street couldn't compete, and just dried them up. They went out of business. And it's just sad seeing all those buildings. There's a lot of towns around like that. There's just nothing in them. There's no businesses left in downtown. There might be one or two, but there's just no cars parked on the street anymore. And it wasn't that way in Trenton. I had a hard time finding a place to park. Anyway, check it out if you're wanting this valve. It's a good one. This is a 3/4. It's got a big old arm on it. And they do sell a float there that goes on this. it was a little bit more than what I wanted to pay. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna try the Joe Megaflow. I didn't realize how heavy that arm is. Folks, that's a big old rectangle. Get down closer, you can see it. That's a rectangle. And it's heavy. So you gotta put, you know, pretty good size float on that. I'm gonna mess around and drop my phone in that water. And then I'm gonna be done taping. Folks, I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see y'all down the road. Hope to see some of y'all at the May Grazing School coming up with Ian and I and Abram. Check it out, greenpasturesfarm.net. See you later, and be safe out there and stay warm.